Afternoon, Nicholas. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I just said, should you prefer Nicholas or Nick? And I called you Nicholas. But I have a habit, actually, of doing that. I call Jeremy Jeremiah. I call Danny Wanker. How are you? Good to
I'm
see
good.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming to Bedford.
Thank you. Enjoyed the trip.
This is going to be an interesting conversation. We're going to be covering some things along a line of things we've been doing recently. As you mentioned before we started, we interviewed Paul with regards to drive chains. We've had Seth Privacy on. We also just had Maxim from Wasabi Wallet.
Mm-hmm.
Privacy is out there. It's something people are discussing quite a bit. We had Obi on to discuss Fedimint, which I think might come up today. So yeah, I'm really interested to talk to you about Statechains. It's not anything I know particularly much about.
Mm-hmm.
Interested to learn. But just before we get into that, can you just tell the audience about yourself, who you are?
Yeah.
Give us your Bitcoin story.
So I'm a technologist. I used to write a lot of code for life. Started in Silicon Valley. Moved back to the UK, then I ended up in New York working for the banks, but writing software for banks. And around 2012, while in New York, I just slowly started getting into Bitcoin. Didn't get into it straight away, questioned it a lot, didn't really understand the 10-minute block times. But then eventually, a guy I met in the gym told me you could mine Bitcoin and make money, and that really tweaked me. And from that, the kind of journey started. And I think I went full time around 2016, left New York around 2017, and being full time ever since.
Did you like New York?
I did. It's a great city. It's a bit like living in a nightclub. After a while, it was time to leave. I got to the stage where I couldn't really live in Manhattan anymore. I had a kid. It was too noisy, and the choice of New Jersey, Connecticut, or Westchester or London. I think I preferred London, but Manhattan as a single guy, or great fun.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of New York, and never really got into the underground fight scene there. But come on, man, I cannot talk to you and not talk to you about this particular subject. Danny told me about this. You were in an actual fight club.
Yeah, it's funny enough. Since I've left, it's become bigger than when I was actually there. When I was there, it was just 2 or 3 guys playing with martial arts. Going to some interesting parts of New York and just exchanging ideas. It's when I left, it's become big. And I'm like a bit like the Satoshi Nakamoto of that fight club, in that they probably remember me as a tougher guy or more revolutionary. But it wasn't really much. Essentially, I'm a martial art hobbyist. Had a few amateur fights in China, nothing special. And when I went to New York, there was a kind of an ad somewhere from a Muay Thai guy who wanted to meet up in Central Park and train with people who'd done different things. And it kind of grew from there.
Was it one of those ads where they leave little tear-offs?
No, it was literally, this is before, this is in the early days of martial arts and the internet. And it literally was, I met a Muay Thai guy, we put a bigger ad, and it was exchanging ideas. It wasn't like Fight Club. There was no bloody faces. And it was just fun.
Ruining it. You're ruining it, man.
But what was interesting, I mean, there's some videos, you can probably, if you search hard enough on YouTube, I mean, there's some interesting videos where I go dressed as an English gentleman with pinstripe suits in some of the roughest parts of New York and meet other guys there, and we spar. And that was what was fun about it. And, the YouTube, some of the guys on YouTube were quite famous in martial arts at some point in time. And that was the cool bit. You got to meet people from different backgrounds, and it's become bigger since I left, and I'm like in one of the founding members, which is quite hilarious. But
was it like street sparring, or were you going to gyms, or?
Yeah, there was one street sparring session on the north side of Central Park. There is a video on YouTube about it if you looked. But no one's trying to kill anyone. It really is an exchange of ideas. But
Fight Club, the film, was an exchange of ideas.
Yeah. But there's that famous scene in Fight Club where I think Brad Pitt's battering someone. That never happened. Yeah, occasionally someone would get a cut eye or broken nose, but nothing.
Was it anything beyond the martial arts? With the exchange of other ideas? Were you all like aligning at the same time?
Yeah, and you have to remember, MMA wasn't legal in New York. So MMA only became legal in 2000, I think 2016, maybe 2017. That's why when Conor McGregor fought for the first time in New York, it was quite a big deal.
Yeah.
So that's why it kind of happened. You couldn't fight MMA in New York, and it was kind of controversial at the time. So that's why these kind of things popped up.
You found it.
How do I find this video?
If you type Wing Chun Brotherhood, and there's a picture of me in a.
I've heard of Wing Chun.
Yeah.
Is that the fast hands thing?
Yeah, it's man movie stuff.
Yeah, I've heard about it. I think somebody I used to work with did Wing Chun.
Yeah, it's great. It's bigger in the UK than it is in the US. I think that's more to do with UK's relationship with Hong Kong, because it
Right.
came out of Hong Kong, and obviously we have a close relationship. There's a lot of people from Hong Kong that came to the UK and taught it.
Are you still active?
I'm not active in Wing Chun. I left that about 5 years ago. I'm still regular with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I just enjoy it. It gives me an outlet outside of crypto, outside of life, and I go there. I tend to go to Jiu-Jitsu 3 or 4 times a week at 7
Wow.
a.m. and it's different. It's just fun. It keeps me in shape. I'm not into it going to the gym. I rather train. So
It seems to have grown massively this last few years. I think Rogan's helped with that.
Joe Rogan's big into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he's quite senior in terms of what he's accomplished there as well.
A serious competitor.
Yeah, and funny enough, I was watching a jiu-jitsu vid about a year ago, like a podcast for jiu-jitsu, like what you do for Bitcoin, and Michael Saylor popped up.
Did he?
He was doing an interview at a well-known Brazilian jiu-jitsu podcast, obviously talking about Bitcoin. So yeah, I can find that for you as well. That was quite.
I think he's been on every podcast there is.
Yeah, so that was quite interesting. I never expected to see him on the Brazilian jiu-jitsu podcast, but he was there, talking about Bitcoin, about
Danny can't find it.
This
is disappointing.
I know.
All right, man. Well, listen, we're here to talk about Statechains. We should do this very similar to how my drive chain session with Paul was. Explain it like I'm I am a moron. Explain it to a moron. No, but explain it like I'm 5. Help me understand. Well, let's go back a step. How did you get to that point where you started developing Statechains? The work, like you made a decision to leave the banks and start building Bitcoin projects.
Yeah, so originally I was building OTC type software in New York with some of the guys I'd met at local meetups. That grew into wanting to build Bitcoin infrastructure. Commerce Block raised money and spent some time building Bitcoin sidechains. What we did is we forked the Elements code base, which is well known for being the code base behind Blockstream Liquid, to build kind of sidechains for companies, kind of a bit more proprietary, a bit more KYC, AML, and that really didn't take off. We had one client. We were in competition with the Tezoses of the world, the IBMs of the world, and it just didn't really go anywhere. So in the bear market, we just made a decision to either fold or look to do something different. And it just so happened that the Statechain paper came out. It wasn't written by us. The way it was written by a guy called Ruben Samson, but he needed changes to Bitcoin to happen. So it wasn't really seen as something realistic at the time. My co-founder, he's quite well known in the cryptography space. He had some cryptographic tweaks to make it work now. So we just thought, why not? You could say it was a bit of an ego vanity project. There's only a few scaling solutions that people talk about in Bitcoin. You've got sidechains, which you probably know well now, Lightning, which is obviously the market leader. And we just thought we'd take an opportunity to build another version to scale Bitcoin on a second layer and give it a go. Didn't know if it would work. It was a lot of questions, and we just gave it a go.
So did those changes to Bitcoin come, or did you find the workaround?
They didn't come, and we found some workarounds. It does make the solution a bit more clunkier, which I can go through, but it does work. We've been live for 6 months. It's operational. We have, we're very small in terms of users, but we kind of wanted that as well, because like Lightning, if you remember when Lightning kind of went live, it never really went live. They kind of started announcing it, saying,
"Be reckless.
Yeah, use it. You may lose your money." And we didn't want to say use it, you may lose your money, but we didn't want many users because you have UI bugs. We weren't like the Lightning Network where it was a group of people. We were one set of people, and the last thing you want is people to use it and lose their money. It's quite scary.
Okay, so take me to the absolute basics. What is a state chain? How does it work?
The best way to think about it, you're probably familiar with Opendimes.
Yes.
Someone else, someone Shinobi, termed the word, we are virtual Opendimes. So we produce these kind of state coins, which you could basically put a Bitcoin in it or a part of a Bitcoin, and we allow people to transfer those. So what's happening under the covers, we allow the transfer of a UTXO, essentially a private key. So we break one of the memes of Bitcoin, not your keys, not your coins. With a state chain, you can send your private keys around. Now, there's a lot of crazy cryptography to make that happen, but essentially that's what we do. We allow Bitcoin to be wrapped in this kind of state coin, UTXO, and allow it to be transferred trustlessly. Well, not trustlessly, you have to trust us, but we're non-custodial. If we were to vanish or if we were to, misbehave, you can always pull your funds out.
Okay, so let's go through it step by step. I used my first Opendime recently.
Hmm.
A few months back, I won a bet with American Hodl. He put it onto an Opendime for me because he didn't think I would be competent enough to figure it out. I was. Fuck you, Hodl. With the help from a Matt Odell video. But in my I understood it, right? It's essentially it's a bit of money.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a bit of money for me, and what I want to do. He gave it to me, handed it to me in person, and I was able to pop it, use the private key, sweep it, and put it into a wallet.
Hmm.
He could have just sent me the Bitcoin wallet to wallet, but essentially it's quite cool because there's no link between the two of us. He essentially gives that to me. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I understand the process of how that works. I understand. If I'd have lost that Opendime, that was quite a bit of Bitcoin that would have been lost. So that to me is a risk factor in that period between when he gave it to me and when I swept it. If my luggage had been lost, I would have lost it because I was traveling. But at the same time, it was quite a neat thing. I'm not sure how often I would give somebody half a Bitcoin on a Opendime, but $100, $1,000, I think that's kind of cool. But I get how that works. I get the physical journey. I need you to take me step by step on the physical journey. Say I want to give Danny
half a Bitcoin
for 0.1 Bitcoin, and but I don't want to use an Opendime. And the reason I don't want to use an Opendime, he's in Australia, I'm in the UK. I don't want to send it from wallet to wallet. I guess that's the reason, right? Because you want to avoid wallet to wallet connections.
You basically stay off chain.
Yeah.
So the way it would work, you would come onto the wallet, you would create a state coin. Essentially what's going on behind the covers, you're creating like an address with two private keys. You have one of the private keys and we have one of them, we being Mercury. That creates a kind of special like address, which allows you then to deposit like a Bitcoin into it, or 0.5 Bitcoin. Now, the key thing is if you want to transfer it to Danny would go onto the wallet, create a state coin address. And basically there's a kind of like a cooperation between you and the Statechain server to basically tweak your private key to generate a new private key for Danny. And then, there's some like cryptographic techniques that stop us from being able to steal the money and basically delete the previous key that was, referencing your key before it went to Danny.
Right. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff. We're going to go the Pete McCormack method.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I go on to the wallet.
Yeah.
I want to send Danny half a Bitcoin. I click on create
state coin. Yeah.
Okay. And that interface creates that state coin that has no value.
Correct.
It is just a deposit address.
Yes.
Okay. And at that point, once it creates the deposit address, I can deposit my Bitcoin into that.
Yes.
In the background, there's two private keys.
Yes.
You have one?
Yes.
And I have one.
Correct.
What do those private keys do together or independently?
Yeah, it's like it's not a multi-sig. It's called two-party ECDE DCDSA. That's a mouthful in itself. But essentially, with the two private keys, you're creating one public key, that's what exists on the Bitcoin blockchain.
Okay.
So that's which holds the Bitcoin.
Okay.
So then when you do a transfer, you tweak essentially the private key so that your private key is invalid. And now the relationship.
Hold on. We're going to go back.
Yeah.
What can I do with my private key to that address? Can I sweep it back?
Yes. At any point in time, you can basically take it out and redeem it, send it to an address you own. You can then stay in the Statechain world and send it to other users. You can do swaps.
Okay. So that and if I lose that private key, that Statechain will permanently hold that Bitcoin.
Yes.
What does your private key do?
Nothing. All we can do is cooperate with you. The way the protocol works, the API works, is we can cooperate with you.
Cooperate how? What does that mean?
So it's not trustless in that you need to work with us to send your money to Danny. You don't need to work with us to take your money out.
Okay, so I can sweep it back, but to get it to Danny, I need to work with you. How? How do I work with you?
You basically sign a transaction, just like in Bitcoin, saying, I'm the owner of this state coin. You're the Statechain server. I want to send it now to Danny. We then tweak the key. We have a key share on our own side, which we provably delete. We use hardware security modules kind of.
Hold on, is this a physical job somebody's doing your end?
No.
Oh, so it's all automated.
All automated.
Okay,
it's all
so
software.
So in my head, I've clicked create state coin.
Yes.
I've sent my half a Bitcoin to it. What do I physically do to get it to Danny? What do I actually have to do?
All you need is Danny's state coin address. from him, which he can send you.
Oh, so we both have to create one.
Yes.
Okay. And so this is a method of transferring the Bitcoin from my Statecoin into his Statecoin.
Yes.
Huh. So they're like, there's like a bridge.
Correct. Yeah.
Do you consider them like wallets?
Well, you have a Statecoin wallet, a Statechain wallet, and inside it, you have multiple Statecoins. Think of the Statecoins of like dollar bills or $100 bills. You're essentially turning Bitcoin into bearer bills,
Okay.
like Opendimes. And yeah, you need to cooperate with the server to transfer to another person.
Okay. So at the point I've got, okay, so I can only transfer it to Danny when he's got one. So I'm like, Danny, go and create yourself a Statecoin. I've created one. I'm going to send it to you.
Yes.
Give him a call
Mhm.
on an encrypted line. And when he's ready,
Mhm.
he just has an address for a Statecoin and I can send it to him.
Yeah.
Can he send it then back to me? Can we send it back and forth to that?
Yeah. I mean, there's a limit on how many times you can send it, because we're basically, this is kind of the part of the trade-offs we had to do, because, to change the Bitcoin. But yeah, we set it to a 3-month time limit. The reason for that is every layer 2 has certain risks. There is a scenario where after 3 months, a previous owner could steal your funds. But you could solve that by having watchtowers, but then you have issues like what happens if the watchtower is not available when someone tries to do that. So we've just set it to 3 months. So in that 3-month period, you know that you can send it, it can be sent, and there's no risk of any previous owner taking the funds.
Okay. I mean, so they're really one-time use.
What happens after that 3 months?
The wallet will automatically, if you're the owner of the Statecoin, the wallet, I think within 10 days or 7 days of that expiry, will automatically send a coin to an address you own, that address being owned by the private key you already created in the wallet. But you can send it within 3-month period. There is a decrementing time lock where the time goes down, but you can send it.
Can we see it? Can we put it up and see it work? Is it possible?
Yeah, we can see it. There's been a lot of demos on it.
Yeah, let's have a look. Let's get one up, Danny. I want to see it. Actually,
BTC Sessions did a show on it once.
Okay, so there's an interface for me to send to Danny,
Yep.
which I put his Statechain address in.
Mm-hmm.
At the point I put send, that's when your software does something.
Yes.
And your software tweaks it so my private key no longer works.
Correct.
And his private key does.
Yes. So he's now the owner.
I might be jumping ahead a little bit here, but I really don't want to miss it. How can you provably delete something? You said you provably delete your key.
So we use an HSM on the back end. We built our own HSM based on Intel SGX. So one of the hardest things in software is deleting something. I mean, you go on your computer, it's quite easy to delete, but how do you prove to the outside world that you delete? Also, when you
What's
do
a HSM, sorry?
a hardware security module, think of
Okay.
it as a server-side version of a ledger or something like that. But one of the, if you delete something on your computer, you don't necessarily delete it. You've deleted it, but it could still be in your cache. It could still be all over the place.
Yeah.
So we basically worked with HSMs, built our own, which is all open source, which provably deletes the key share. But even if we weren't to delete it, we can't steal that key is only allows us to cooperate with an owner of a Statecoin. Even the key alone, without it being deleted, can't steal the funds.
So your key is different from mine.
Yes.
Mine allows me to withdraw.
Yeah.
Yours just allows me to transfer.
Mine just allows me to cooperate with you.
You cooperate with
What about in a scenario where Pete was sending me half a Bitcoin?
Mm-hmm.
He sends it to me, and you obviously allow that transaction, however that works on your sort of private key side. Could you two then collude to get the money back?
If it was before that 3-month period, we could, yes.
If he hasn't swept it.
Yes.
How do we do that? Because I thought at the point where it transfers to him, my key no longer works.
Yeah, so if you were to transfer it to him, if the server was to misbehave and not delete that key share, and that 3-month period has expired, then there is a scenario where we could, the previous owner could cooperate. But the wallet as such would never allow that because of we basically hard-coded that 3-month period.
And presumably, you have no incentive to do that. I get that. I'm just thinking.
Also, one of the things I kind of said it at Bitcoin Miami, everyone thought it was weird, but if we were to cooperate, you would be able to prove that we misbehaved with Pete.
Yeah.
So we call it proof of scam, but you would know.
and I'm probably getting caught up on something that's not important, but on the provably delete side, and this might be way oversimplified, but could you, if it's a private key on your computer, could you not take a picture with your phone and then provably delete it, but you still have a picture of the private key on your phone?
That would assume that we've got a copy of the key. We use an HSM, so the key is never actually. An HSM is basically hard to explain it. It's a security mod. It's a hardware security module where the key lives inside.
Right. So you don't actually interact with the key.
No.
But is there any way if you wanted to?
No.
You can't go in there and have a look at that key.
We can't. I mean, look, there are stories of HSMs being broken, and that's well known, but that's the way kind of custodial systems work. They have these HSMs, so you can't really take the key out, but there could be a side channel attack. There could be an attack on the HSM where the key was stolen.
And is everything you've done open source?
Yeah, 100%.
All been reviewed?
Yeah, I mean, we try and get community looking at it, but it's all open source. Yeah.
And the thing is, I could collude to try and steal my Bitcoin back, but why would I do that to you?
Well, because you could. I mean, the other thing is it could be a hacker, presumably.
Yeah.
But I mean, Mercury have no incentive, I guess, because their business is over at that point.
Yeah, and you got that 3-month window, so there'd have to be a lot of things going wrong. It's not just one attack vector; there's quite a few.
Yeah,
but it's interesting.
Let's see this. I think I've used Mercury Wallet a long time. How long's Mercury Wallet been around?
I think we only really went live in February. I mean, we've been talked about for a couple of years.
Maybe
we don't need this bit.
Okay, so that's the bit creating the wallet. Connecting to swaps. Is that what you call it?
Swaps is basically if you want to meet with a group of people and swap your coins.
I mean, can I call it what I think it is?
It's
like if I went down the pub with Danny and you, and we all had £20 notes and we swapped them around.
Yeah, and put them in a jar and shake it. I mean, it's blinded, so you don't know who you swapped with. You just know you swapped with someone of the same denomination.
Okay.
And that was really to get a first use case out of Statechains. We didn't want to build. There's been quite a few white elephants in Bitcoin, technology that's built, but no one found a use case.
Hold on. So does swaps use the same technology?
Yes. So the reason we built swaps, and it was just pure timing. At the time we decided to go with Statechains, coin swaps had been around for a while. The idea was done in 2013. It just so happens at the time when we decided to build Statechains, Chris Belker made some announcements about coin swaps. So we thought, well, we're taking these private keys off chain. Why don't we see a way of swapping them? And that's
hold on. Is this it?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you go back a step? Right. So are we seeing it within the swap?
Yeah.
Okay. But so a swap is a group of people to blindly
swap. Yeah. It's like a coin join, but the thing is, it's not creating that kind of Uber coin join.
I know. I want to talk about this Statecoin thing though. So I wanted to create my Opendime just to send to Danny, or is it only possible to do it in this scenario?
It's only possible to do it in this wallet.
Okay, so I can't actually just go and create one and choose to send it to Danny. I can only go and join a group who are doing.
Oh no! You can send it to Danny. That's why you got the send and receive buttons on the right side.
So this is like the privacy tool aspect of it, right?
Well, every send is private because it's off chain. There's no history of the block. We do have a history of transactions, which is available in the block explorer, which everyone can see. That's public.
Okay, so come back a second. So I'm in this wallet as a normal Bitcoin user. When I think of send, I think I'm just going to put in Danny's address and send him some Bitcoin.
Yes, and that's essentially what you're doing.
That is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So where am I creating the Statecoin?
Okay, so when you want to deposit, so the deposit button on the left, that allows you to create the Statecoin. The withdrawal button on the left allows you to take it back onto the Bitcoin main chain.
So this only operates as Statecoins.
Correct, yeah.
So it's a bit like Fedimint in that way.
Yeah.
Presumably, yeah.
Right.
But am I right in saying there are only certain denominations in this?
We support only. You can create your own denomination, though. You could create a random one, but yeah, we have preset denominations.
Okay, so I'm just getting my head around this. If I was a very basic user of Bitcoin and I didn't know the difference between Mercury Wallet and another wallet, and I just used this, do I use it in exactly the same way, and I'm using Statecoins without even knowing?
Yeah, I mean there are some differences, but I mean, yeah.
But I say that,
but this is not a Bitcoin wallet. This is a state chain wallet.
No, I understand, but like somebody might get confused. Like if I go in and click send, and Danny, I was like, Danny, I'm going to send you some Bitcoin, and he gives me his Betch32 address. Can I just put it in? It will go to him.
No, it wouldn't recognize that. It needs a specific
right.
Statecoin
So
address.
somebody needs to know. Okay, that's fine. So this is purely for Statecoins.
Yeah. Yeah, you're depositing a Bitcoin. The deposit function creates a Statecoin address. So you choose your denomination, like a 0.1 or 1 Bitcoin, and then that address allows you to put the Bitcoin in.
And every time I deposit, does it create a new Statecoin, and I have a list of them?
Yes.
So I'm creating bearer instruments.
Yeah.
I've got UX ideas separately to this.
Great.
Yeah.
We're all for
it.
it.
But I think one of the complications is the language is exactly the same as a normal wallet.
Maybe. Yeah.
But you're doing something slightly different.
Yes, we're doing something different. Yeah. I mean, and we've had to change it. Obviously, we were we've confused people. I think Statecoin, some people love it. Some people see it as a joke to CBDCs. You're from a marketing background. You tell us.
Well, no. I mean, for me, it's just I would have like create new Statecoin as a button.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you deposit into that. That in my mind, that's what it would be. Okay, so you can. That's very cool. Danny, can you just go to that next bit? So anyone listening, it's worth checking out the video. Okay, so this is it. Statecoin value, because I put 0.01 in. That's a Statecoin address. That's the UTXO. I mean, this is very good UX. It like literally tells you.
We did have someone else design it. If my team had designed it, it would have been a nightmare.
Privacy score, swap set. So it does a swap before it sends?
This is how many times you swapped. So here, the swap set of 97 means that he's swapped 97 times.
So that coin.
This state coin he has been swapped 97 times.
So when I do it, it does the swap first before I send it to Danny.
No, this is the swap function. So if you go to click on the swap button, you can see a bunch of guys wanting to swap.
So this isn't from click and deposit. This is I understand. Okay.
So that would be the equivalent of 97 if you go to the pub, put £20 in, shake it up, and take one out.
Yeah, and put it back 96 times.
Yeah.
Okay. Very, very. It's kind of cool, man.
Thank you.
Okay. What are the criticisms you've had?
Some people don't like the fact we have this hardware security module because they think it's a risk. We agree that there's risk with hardware security modules, and that's the reason why we put this 3-month limit. So if we were to turn rogue and become bad guys, you still have that 3 month where nothing can be taken.
So I guess over a period of time, if there was enough coins in Statecoins. Oh, hold on, let me go back. If I send it to Danny, has he got 3 months to then sweep it?
We do decrement it by 8 hours, so that that 3 months goes down by 8 hours every swap, and that's just the way the protocol works from a security point of view. So that we can still ensure that no previous owner takes the funds. But I mean, we say we're non-custodial. Some people say, well, it's ish, but I think a good balance with some of the Bitcoiners I've spoken to, Bitcoin is proactively non-custodial in that we can't steal the funds, but there is an element if we were to be bad, the HSM got corrupted, the 3 months expired, we could work with a previous owner, but the state chain entity does not have the funds and can't actively steal the funds by itself. It
seems like we're moving into the world of people wanting to use services that have a little more trust with it. Like Fedimint has a certain amount of trust with it.
Every layer 2 is going to have reductions in trust, compromises. That's why they're called layer 2s.
Reductions in trust or increases in trust?
No, every layer 2 is going to have weaknesses that are not as strong as the base layer. I mean, whether it's a side chain, you have to trust the federation, whether it's Lightning, where they all have weaknesses. It's just where you're comfortable. And so, and I think with the state chain, you do know them up front, and there's a lot of trade-offs that have been built into the API, so that you may not like the 3 month. Ideally, these coins would be live forever. Yeah, they would never expire. But then we would have to have watchtowers. And the problem is, if you take out the watchtowers, if you co-opt them, I wouldn't trust that. At least with the 3 months, I can do whatever I want and then only worry about it after the 3 months have expired.
Would it not be better that it auto sweeps? So like when Danny creates his, he has to put the sweep address in. So as soon as it's sent, it immediately sweeps to the new address.
When you mean sweeps?
So when I send in the Statecoin, I transfer ownership to him.
Yeah.
He then has to sweep that into a Bitcoin address to take it out, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if Danny doesn't want to send it to me. But if his wallet just sits there and does nothing, the wallet will automatically sweep it to a Bitcoin address owned by his private key.
Okay. And
so it's acting like a watchtower. So it basically says, if Danny leaves his wallet on and the 3 months expires, I think within the 10-day period or 7-day period, it will broadcast it back to the Bitcoin blockchain to a private key owned by that wallet. So it does kind of do that when you get in that danger period.
On the regulatory side of things, where are you considering the product you've created? Because some may argue that you're offering a sort of mixing service.
Well, yeah, it's a complicated question. You speak to 5 lawyers, you get 5 different views.
Yeah,
we've just tried to copy what other people are doing. We're very similar we're an alternative to like a sidechain. The only real production version is Liquid, in that we don't have custody. We don't charge for swaps. We only charge for people using the state chain entity So you couldn't say that we're making money. And
What does that mean?
sorry?
What does that mean? You only charge for people using the state chain entity?
Okay, so at the moment, and we are changing this, which I can go into. When you create a Statecoin address, that's free. When you smooth it around, that's free. But when you peg out, we take a fee.
I see.
0.05%.
Right.
But we don't, if you want to swap in the pub or do that, we don't take a fee. We can't take a fee because of the nature of the protocol. It's blinded. We don't know who's swapping with anyone. So we don't take a fee there. I mean, there is no current regulation on this stuff. FinCEN kind of made they wrote a well-known report in 2019 saying that custodial mixers are, bad and they're going to be shut down. Non-custodial privacy tools, like things like Wasabi and Samurai are fine. That could change next week, though. And I'm open to that. And we've got things in plans to protect ourselves, but eventually they may stop everything. You can't predict it.
It feels like there's like a growing lens on the ideas of. I know it's mad to say it, and these motherfuckers, but there is like this growing lens on anything where somebody's trying to give yourself privacy, which, by the way, is a human right. That they don't want this.
Yeah, I mean it's confusing at the moment. I never thought they would sanction a smart contract.
Yeah,
I always thought they sanctioned humans, but it's like they've decided to. I guess we're talking about the Tornado Cash stuff. I mean, the fact they've sanctioned a smart contract's an odd one, and probably going to create more problems and solutions.
Well, they've arrested somebody for writing a smart contract.
Right? I don't think that's related from the last I checked.
Is it not, Danny?
I would guess it is, even if they're saying it's to do with money laundering outside of it. Like, I think he put a target on his back and they found something to get him for. But that might be me having a conspiracy.
For anyone who's not looked into Tornado Cash, can you explain what happened?
I can try. It's basically a mixing service on Ethereum, smart contract that anyone who's interacted with that is now blacklisted from using almost every application on Ethereum. But really, it's a smart contract. So, I don't know how they can't stop it.
But if you've got a wallet or an address, that's what they're blocking.
An address that's touched it.
But it's got worse than that. So say, in Ethereum, they have those kind of ENS names. So petermccormack.eth. If you were to own that, I could go to Tornado, do some mixing, then send you.
Didn't somebody do that?
They've done that to a lot of celebrities, well-known people. Yeah. BrianArmstrong.eth got done. So
are they all people who are now on a blacklist?
Well, they will be. There's nothing they can do about it. And it's like, how many hops away from that you go until you're okay? I don't know if anyone knows the answer to that. Like, if you do 3 hops, are you then far enough removed from Tornado Cash? It's so stupid on so many levels. But I think the fact that he was arrested is no coincidence. Like, whether they're saying it's about something else, I don't think that
what has been said
that it's money laundering, and I don't know. It's all like,
look it up. Let's see what it is.
Yeah, okay.
Because we don't want you to get arrested, Nick.
We're building layer 2 solutions. I mean, look, we fit in the same layer of like a Lightning, Liquid. We're an alternative to layer 2. But,
whereas Tornado Cash is purely a mixing service.
But they suggest, like they were saying,
it's an odd one.
It was.
All right. The Dutch Finance Crimes Agency last week arrested a 29-year-old developer in connection with a cryptocurrency mixer, Tornado Cash, that said he is suspected of involvement in concealing criminal financial flows and facilitating money laundering. The DeFi Education Fund, a policy nonprofit that advocates for decentralized finance, published the response it said it received from the Fiscal Information and Investigation Service on Twitter. Okay, keep going. Tornado Cash is an app that obscures Ethereum addresses, which has made it popular with traders who want to maintain their privacy. So how is that different? Isn't that just a layer 2 service?
It wasn't a layer 2. It was a base layer. It also was. It's kind of hard to explain because it's non-custodial in that no one controlled it, but it did have one address in it which had a considerable amount of funds, and there was like a DAO behind it as well. It's an odd one, but I think we're a layer 2 solution, but you have layer 2 solutions in Ethereum now. The whole ZK rollup stuff. People are going to use those things. It's
Tornado Cash sanctions shake crypto. The app's native token Torn took its first big tumble. Okay. Since last week, a growing number of crypto advocacy groups have pushed back on the US Treasury Department's decision to sanction Tornado Cash. The Electronic Frontier Foundation said there's clear First Amendment implications when government inhibits the publication of computer code on a public website. I mean, this reminds me a little bit of when you go to the backstory of what happened with PGP, right?
In what way?
Well, what was the whole story with the guy you were
Phil Zimmerman. That's a little bit different because that was like they were saying that the cryptography that he had written was equivalent to exporting missiles. And
But the defense is that this is code and coded speech.
Yes, and like one of the ways he got around that was by printing a book along with MIT and making it like part of the just free speech.
Yeah,
is that First Amendment?
First Amendment is free speech. Yeah.
But I mean, this seems like to me like a clear attack on privacy tools.
Yeah, it is. But we've seen attack on privacy tools in Bitcoin before. The CEO of Dropbit was arrested for running a mixer.
Mm-hmm. That was a custodial mixer, I guess.
Custodial mixer. Yeah. But fundamentally, what is the difference between a custodial and non-custodial mixer? It's still doing the same job.
One's a tool. One has control of the funds, and that's a big difference. Because when you have control of the funds, you need a money transfer license. So if I was to give you money via Danny and Danny was to hold it and be in a position to steal it, he needs a money transfer license to do
that.
No,
I get all that. But in the eyes of the people who are, they're not pissed off that somebody's transferring money. They're pissed off that people are able to create privacy for people. That's what they want. They want access to everything. They want to know every transaction that everyone is doing, who you're sending it to, why, and what you're, they want complete view and control over everything we do. Let's just be honest about that. And the reason they might have some legislation they can use to punish people, but the issue of this is a war on privacy. And they don't like these tools because they offer privacy. So
true, but I mean, not all privacy is nefarious. And
no, I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm saying is the decisions of the people doing this, the state-based agencies who are upset that people have privacy tools, they're not upset that people don't have a money transmission license because anyway they would just find them.
Sure, but we always talk about when the institutions are coming. When I was still working at banks, one of the biggest criticisms about Bitcoin was its lack of privacy.
Yeah,
banks need privacy. Everyone needs privacy. Also, if I'm honest, if MI6 were to call me to basically help them go after the bad guys with software, I would want privacy tools like Tornado Cash to look at pattern analysis, timing analysis, to be able to go after the bad guys. By taking this thing out, they're kind of putting it all over the Ethereum blockchain. It's going to be harder to come after people. It's going to make it much more messier. And I think this is a battle. I mean, one of my pet peeves is the whole KYC AML. It doesn't solve any problem.
Actually makes everything more dangerous.
Makes it worse. I think we can all safely say it's very easy to get fake IDs on the dark web. Every week I hear about some companies personal data has been hacked. That data ends up on the dark web. So basically, people can go to like centralized exchanges with stolen IDs and do nefarious things.
Well, you can find out. There's that website, Danny, where you can like search up if you've had your data compromised.
Yeah, have I been pwned?
Yeah. Look that up. Let's have a look at that. We'll put my details
in. We're not solving the problem. We're not helping the bad guys.
No, but we are governed by incompetent idiots.
Well, I'm hoping the Tornado Cash thing becomes such a mess.
Yeah, 28 data breaches.
28. So what have we got in here? Ledger, Adobe, Apollo, BTC, Pornhub. No, I'm Discuss, Dropbox. I mean, these are major services. Like House, like every Mashable, Last.fm, MySpace. I mean, these are huge companies. Zynga. So it's happening with everyone.
Yeah.
Every major service can be under attack. Many have been under attack. Lots of my data is out there because of that, because we don't have privacy, which has introduced risk in life to me and my family and my friends, to the point where now I expect my data to be everywhere. I expect people else to find me and get access to me. I can't live like Jameson Lopp. So what I'm saying to you is like, I'm with you. We should have privacy. Like,
just shout out to the best tweet ever in response to the Tornado Cash thing.
Thankfully, I've never used Tornado Cash to launder money. I use Deutsche Bank for a normal person. That's fucking brilliant. That is brilliant. That is the greatest tweet in the history of tweets. But I still think they're going to come after these services. And that's why I'm wondering what the next step is and the next step is.
To be honest, I thought they were going to come after mining next. I thought they were going to force, OFAC compliant blocks and stuff like that. And I thought that was the next attack vector. So I was a bit surprised by the way and the veracity they came after Tornado Cash. But there's big questions here, like what happens to Lightning? I mean, Lightning has an element of privacy to it. I mean,
as it should.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just it's a war on privacy. And I don't know how we win it.
Well, I'm hoping that the Tornado Cash incident creates such a mess for exchanges, compliance departments that they realize it's a mistake. I mean, at the moment, everyone who uses Ethereum is in trouble. I mean, people are in the early days of Bitcoin. You used to have do you remember something called dust attacks?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, essentially, that's what's happening to the Ethereum space. People are taking Tornado Cash, Ethereum, and spraying it across everybody.
Didn't that happen with the OFAC addresses though as well?
Yeah.
People,
so this is just making a nightmare for compliance departments. Your central exchanges. It's going to make the system unusable. I mean, I think there's noise this week about Aave having issues and all the DeFi protocols having issues. I'm hoping this creates such a mess that people are going to say, look, this is not working. We're not using the technology the way it should be. And
I wonder if that Gemini thing that went out yesterday is related to this.
I would imagine so.
Yeah. I mean, it's like everybody is now being exposed to this if you've touched Ethereum.
But that's a good way of fighting it, I guess. Just make sure everyone's tainted.
Just make it ridiculous.
we all become dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all criminals.
We're all pigs playing in the mud, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. How similar are you to Fedimint?
I do know Obi, and we have actually spoke a lot. We're different, very different. Fedimint is more like Liquid in the back end in terms of having a federation. Obviously, they're a dynamic federation. They can choose. The whole thing's supposed to be dynamic. We're fixed UTXOs. So one of the limitations of state coins, you can only send the state coin you have. So if you have a Bitcoin of 0.142, that's all you can send. You can't break it into little pieces. So, we're very different. I think we complement Lightning quite well. One of the issues of Lightning is the liquidity lockup you need in the Lightning network to send funds. We obviously don't have that. Our biggest issue is that we can't send micropayments or small denominations. So, if you see us as a kind of, I think eventually Statechains will fit somewhere in the Lightning ecosystem. Our next release, which is hopefully coming out November, is to be, very much integrated with Lightning. You'll be able to pay for Statecoin with a Lightning payment. As I said, we send around UTXOs. At the moment, those UTXOs are Bitcoin. They could be Lightning channels. Now, there's a lot of complexity there, but I think that's where we're going to go, where you'd be able to move around Lightning channels, and that's like swapping around your checking account. But I think that's where it's going to fit in, and that's where it's going to get really interesting.
If you were approached by a regulator and said to continue the service, you need to put in place KYC AML requirements, does that end what you do?
It's not. What we try and do is make things more blinded. So we don't know people who use us. We don't know people who swap. I think that's the only thing you can do. But, already in the US, you do have KYC Lightning services. I think Strike is. We'd have to see if there's a product fit for that if we're forced. I mean, I'm not leaving the UK. I'm not moving to Dubai or anything. So, but if we're forced to, we'd have to see. But I think if they were to come to us, it would be the whole Lightning ecosystem. So, and the whole sidechain ecosystem as well. So I think but stupider things have happened.
I know that obviously these transactions don't touch the chain, so there's no footprint. But how much, so anyone looking from the outside in, they can't see anything. But how much can you see as the coordinator?
We see, at the moment, we see the transactions, but we publish them. So we have an explorer.mercury.com. And when we go fully blinded, though, that we'll be seeing a lot less, because we'll basically be using, similar to the way Fedimints with blinded signatures, we'll be signing essentially anything. We don't know what we're signing. But everything we have, we broadcast. It's on our block. It's on a block explorer.
So someone couldn't be in your ear being like, keep this going, but just tell us what's going on.
There's nothing that we don't have. It's all
public.
Yeah, it's all public. And that's the best way to be. Then, so if a three-letter word agency from the US want to monitor us, they wouldn't be seeing. There's nothing that we have that's not on the block explorer.
Well, I would imagine someone like Chainalysis is already looking at you.
They're probably not, but it's probably more to do with the fact we're quite small. If we were to be, if we had the volumes of Wasabi and Samurai, I'm sure we would be.
Do you work with them at the moment at all?
No. I mean, we do blacklist and all, and we have to blacklist because the things like Samurai and Wasabi, if you participate in one of their coin joins and misbehave, like constantly fail to close it, you're a form of DDoS. You can basically stop them from ever doing a coin join.
Right.
So if you were to permanently join a swap group and then not allow the swap to complete, like switch off your wallet just as part of completion, that wrecks the swapping process. So of course we would blacklist that. And the way, when we're fully blinded, we wouldn't be able to blacklist an address. We just blacklist the kind of a form of token. Not, not an Ethereum token, but when you create a state coin, we basically create a token to represent that state coin, which is basically a hash, nothing to do with the Bitcoin blockchain, just what we show to the outside world and what we see in the inside world.
Can you punish that user?
Yes. We have to, because because otherwise we'd be DDoSed, and
yeah,
DDoS is always a big problem on any public service.
How much are they punished for? The entire wallet, or just a percentage of it?
Well, we don't know because we don't know what how many state coins they have. We only see the individuals. So that state coin, I think we block for 2 minutes. That's configurable. We could block it for longer.
Huh. Interesting.
I think it goes up incrementally. First you'll block for 2 minutes, then forward, and But
that's like when you forget your password on your your phone. It's like 8 days.
And look, one of the hardest things when we went live is Tor. Tor is, and I'm sure you said you had the Wasabi guys here, that they've had the same problems. Tor is quite unreliable, and you are working over unreliable internet that blocks, that jams, that kind of a lot of the times we block people, and it's not because they've done anything wrong. It's just Tor is potentially being DDoSed itself.
How much are you growing? How much interest is there? Is there like any numbers you can give that are public?
All our numbers are public.
Okay, so what kind of usage are you seeing?
We've had we've had about 16 Bitcoin go through.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a small community. I mean, I guess on Twitter, a lot of people talk about us to be to merge with Lightning, and a lot of like hardcore people like the technology. It's quite interesting. There's a lot of funky cryptography, and as I said, we didn't really market in the early days because the wallet was a lot more buggier, and then we weren't. It's very hard to build something like this and then go public, because you don't know how people are going to use it. I mean, you have people, even, I guess our average user is quite strong technically, but they use wallets in different ways.
Yeah. Well, it's a good model.
Yeah. And we're hoping for use cases. So for example, we spoke to a Bitcoin Miami, Chris Stewart, the Surabits guy.
Yeah.
He's tweeted about using state coins for DLCs, discrete log contracts. It's more about getting the use case for different kind of things you can now do, because you're essentially turning Bitcoin into like a $1 bill or $10 bill, which is, I was a fan of Opendimes. I think they were one of the cool things.
Opendimes are very cool. So
we've kind of made them virtual, and I think there are use cases that probably we won't think about that others will.
What do you think the sort of future use case is? Like, for example, with Obi and Fedimint, like he's got quite a clear, like it's a bold vision. He thinks he's going to try and get 1 billion people onto Bitcoin or onto Fedimint, or using Fedimint. But like, I get the privacy aspect of this, but like, what's the scaling aspect? Like, what do you think? How do you think people will be using it in 5 years' time?
I like to think we're going to be a way to onboard Lightning users, so people can come in, swap their Lightning channels. Basically, one of the problems with Lightning is that the zero conf. Maybe people come buy state coin, and that's your first Lightning channel. I think
so. You can swap Lightning channels.
We can't do that yet, but most of the team is working on Lightning as we speak. So kind of being part of the Lightning ecosystem. I mean, when we first started building this, I'll be the first to admit, I thought Lightning was going nowhere. It didn't look like it had much activity. And it has built up in the last year to something I got wrong. And I think, we have an opportunity to be part of the Lightning system, allow people to swap Lightning channels, work with DLCs. For people that have an empty Lightning channel, maybe they create an empty state coin Lightning. It's a way of onboarding people more. And I think that's where it gets interesting.
So it allows people to swap Lightning channel without having to pay to open a Lightning channel.
Yeah, stuff like that. I think that's where
quite cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
And why would somebody use you over, say, Wasabi? What's the advantage you have?
Well, privacy is not a button. So in some ways we're better privacy, in some ways we're worse. So when you use Wasabi, Samurai, or CoinJoin, they generate one large transaction. The issue with that is exchanges can look for CoinJoin transactions and say, you've done a CoinJoin, you're bad. We're not doing any form of CoinJoin. We're doing coin swaps. So that means the exchanges can't see anything. Now, the issue there is you may get a dirty coin because you're doing a swap. So you may come in with your perfect clean coin and you end up with North Korea coin.
Is there any way to look that up and see if it's...
Well, what we've done on iExplorer is all the swaps are broadcasted. So if the police ever came to you to visit you and say, why have you got a North Korea coin? You said, well, I did a coin swap on this day. And that's attested to the Bitcoin network. So we take a hash of all our swaps, put it in the Bitcoin network. So if you're ever caught with a dirty coin, you can say, well, I'm not dirty. I've done a coin swap.
I mean, I got this £20 note. And
yeah. Exactly.
I'm not responsible for the history of it.
So so it's a different type of privacy. We really want this to be seen as a layer 2 solution, but just like Liquid has confidential transactions, there is a privacy element here. Because I think if it's just seen as privacy, I think that's kind of limited. And don't really want to be reading OFAC lists all day long.
No.
I didn't expect you to go so deep into Mercury Wallet, so I'm quite happy.
No, it's very cool. I mean,
cool.
I'm really interested in this area at the moment, especially with those motherfuckers who are going around attacking people who just want privacy in their life, which we absolutely deserve, and not the risk that's been presented to our life by these onerous regulations that have achieved close to nothing.
Well, when I went to Bitcoin Miami, the first user that came up to me was a bodybuilder, big stocky guy, and he sells bodybuilding products. And he says, yeah, I use privacy products because I buy my ingredients from the Chinese, and they're always trying to screw me. If they knew how much Bitcoin they weren't, the price would go up 10 times.
Right. Okay.
And I think people sometimes forget about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And,
look, but we just deserve it. And I mean, it's a human right. It's the absolute, one of the foundational pillars of, as David Chaum said, it's one of the foundational pillars of democracy is having privacy. If you don't have privacy, you don't have democracy. So I absolutely support what you're doing. I hope you get a lot more interest out of it after coming on the show. I hope a lot of people go and check it out. I'm definitely going to be checking it out. It's very cool.
Thanks.
And congratulations on it. Tell people where to go to find out more information.
Yeah, mercurywallet.com. Please. We on our Twitter account, we have a demonstration video, and we want feedback because, as again, my team is bunch of engineers, may not do the branding the best, may not, the UI may be designed for you engineers. So we do like feedback and making it easier for people to use. And even technical people have come to us and they want it done differently. So that's a hard thing to get right.
Okay, awesome, man. Well, listen, good luck with this. Stay in touch, and we're not far from each other. We can have a beer in London at some point.
For sure. Sounds good.
All right, man. Take care.
Thanks.